Good morning, guys. Today I thought I'd expound a little bit more on fishing for kokanee without downriggers and using lead weights to get down to deep kokanee. So I'm going to be targeting kokanee in 70 to 100 feet deep today using 3 to 4 ounces of weight. And there's actually several different styles of weight or lead that you can use, and I thought I'd discuss some of the benefits, the pros and cons of each approach. So this here is called a trolling weight, sometimes called a banana sinker because of its shape. Typically has this banana shaped lead with a swivel on top and a bead chain off the back, which is pretty positive benefit because it allows the dodger to twirl, or when you're fighting fish, you won't get any sort of line binding here. It makes it a little bit harder for the fish to leverage the hook out of its mouth using the weight. And there's way less blowback on these. So they're very hydrodynamic, so you're not going to get a lot of drag off of them. They're widely available. The one downfall of them is that, of course, they're permanently on your rod if you have it mounted up. So when you're traveling, your rod's all bent over, looking kind of weird. And additionally, it's a pain to change the weight out. So if you need to add weight or reduce your weight, you've got to cut your line and tie new knots. But we're going to get this deployed. I'm marking a few fish down at 120 feet and see if we can't get into some kokanee. Oop, got a double going. Get a double. Oh, he's off. Okay. We'll grab this guy then. This is on this banana weight. Oh yeah, this is a nice size fish. There you go. Score one for the banana weight. They work, and it definitely felt like there was less resist bringing it up from those depths. Now the other style of weight I'm going to be running on this rod is a slider rig, and sometimes called a dropper rig. Adopted over from Columbia River salmon fisheries. Basically, you have a sliding swivel here, bead down to a bead chain, and then a bumper. And this is definitely one of my favorite ways to use lead to target kokanee, in part because the weight can freely slide. So the kokanee have a harder time using the weight to leverage the hooks out of their mouth because it can freely slide. It lets you basically feel the fight better. You're fighting the fish and the lead's just kind of free floating up and down the line there. Of course, the real advantage of this rig is that when you're storing it, you don't have this big heavy weight on the rod, which makes storing it a little bit easier. And you can change out the weights really quickly by just unclipping the weights from this clip here, or duo lock oftentimes. And you can change your weight out to match the depth that you need to. So you can have this set, you know, if you're fishing one lake, the fish are only at 20 feet one day, then you only need 1 or 2 ounces. Or if you're out like in deep water today like I am, then you can put a 4 or 5 ounce weight on there and get down to those fish in the target zone. All right, let's go ahead and get this one deployed. Now, one of the things you do have to be careful with both of these rigs, because the weight is so close to your dodger and to your lure, that you can't just drop these things super fast, because the weight's going to jump ahead of the dodger and lure, and it's going to turn into just a big mess, and you won't be fishing effectively. So you really have to slowly put line out. You can either hand feed it out like I do, or a lot of times what I've seen other people do who are just getting started is just to turn on their clicker, and that will slow down the rate at which line exits your reel, and you're less likely to get tangle. So you can do the clicker, and you can see it's much harder for the line to come out, and you can just hand feed it out this way. There's no slippage of line off the spool of the reel. You can just feed it out quickly, but you won't go so fast that it'll get tangled up. Oop, there's fish. On the dropper rig, sliding rig. Don't get a little swirly on me. There we go. I just like the flexibility of being able to change out my weights. Because there are times where the fish are going to start out on the surface in the morning or shallower, and then they're going to go deeper as they try and get away from that daylight on their deal migration. Okay, now on this setup, I've got what I would traditionally be using if I was using a downrigger, which is just a bead chain about 18-20 inches above my Dodger, no weight, but I am going to put a weight on here. I'm going to use a snap weight. So first, I'm going to let out anywhere from 20 to 50 feet of line. Okay, then I'm going to use what's called a snap weight. Now these were adapted over from the Great Lakes fisheries, and this is a little snap that has a little button or nipple on the inside there that your line goes past, so it can't just come off of the line. And then off of that snap there's a duo lock, and I've got my 4-ounce weight on there. I just clip that on, and so now that weight is a long way from the Dodger, so the chance of the weight falling back and getting tangled up on the Dodger and everything is really low now. So this is a great option for people who are struggling with their stuff getting tangled on the drop, especially for paddle kayak anglers, for paddle kokanee anglers. When you're getting tangles, you're always having to stop, slow down, paddle, speed up. A lot of times that results in tangles. Using this snap weight system, you really can avoid all of those issues. Another benefit of this is sometimes there's some days where those dropper rigs are out fishing the downriggers for some reason. Just on the turn, the dropper weights drop a little faster. This is a really easy way to just pull gear up off your downrigger, snap a clip weight onto it or snap weight onto it, drop it down, and be back in business. So it really allows you to change your weight on the fly very, very quickly, and that can help you put more fish in the boat more quickly. And one of the things you do have to remember with this approach, with these snap weights, is that you have to remember on your line counter that, since I put 35 feet out first before I snapped in, the amount of line paid out with the weight having an impact is not the same as what's on your line counter. You have to take into account that line you put out before. Oop, there's fish. That's one on this clip weight or snap weight. All right, with these snap weights, you have to bring up the weight, pinch it, and it'll release, and then you can just fight the fish. Oop, get in there. There you go. Now this little device here is called the Instant Downrigger from Ready Rig. And it's sort of like a hybrid between that snap-on weight and a downrigger release. And how this works is there's a little dual lock here on the bottom that the weight snaps into. And then there's another one that goes on your line itself up on top. And we'll go ahead and clip that in. So you let out, 20, 30, 40, 50 feet of line, whatever you want to do. And then you snap this onto your line, secure it. So now that slides freely up and down your line. And then there's a little, basically, release right here. This little rubber release has a little finger pull here. You pull the spring back, and you clip your line into that release. And then when a fish hits, it will release, and then it slides down the line, so you don't have to worry about unclipping it manually. So it's a pretty neat little device. It's a great way to sort of bypass the snap weights because you don't have to worry about unsnapping it. But it does take a while to figure out what the precise amount of pressure you need. So the further down in there, the more pressure it takes to release it from that clip. For kokanee, obviously, you don't need to go very deep. Oop, you got a fish that I was reeling in. That was great. And that instant downrigger deployed like it was supposed to. Well, I think I'm going to wrap it up here for the day. I hope showing you these 4 different weight systems for targeting kokanee at depth helped to illustrate the sort of the strengths and weaknesses of each, and maybe you'll find one that works best for your kokanee fishing situation. All right, I'll see you next time out on the water. Just remember, fish smarter, not harder. Bye, guys.